Okay, so the quickie, ẹ jẹ́ n sáré fẹnu sí ọ̀rọ̀ pé ṣé èèyàn lè jẹ ajá. Ẹ mọ̀ pé èmi ọ̀rọ̀ èèyàn ni máa ń sọ, mi ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀yà. I don't talk about tribe, I don't talk about religions. But I only delve into such matters or mention them when I see that sectional ideology or idealism is beginning to separate or discriminate people. So mama mix English mo Yoruba má bínú, but mo sure mo dey trust pé everybody ma understand me. Ṣé èèyàn lè jẹ ajá? Ṣé Mùsùlùmí lè jẹ ajá? Ṣé Christian lè jẹ ẹlẹ́dẹ̀? Ṣé anybody lè jẹ adìyẹ? Ta ló lè jẹ nǹkan kan? Okay, so when I looked into it and I asked people, some of who are Muslims, my people around me, some of them said reason tí wọ́n fi sọ pé they shouldn't be eating dog is because ajá dọ̀tí. Wọ́n lájá máa ń jẹ̀gbẹ́. Wọ́n lájá máa ń ṣe báyìí pé kìnìkan. That is one reason they give. The second reason they give, somebody said because dog has become almost a friend to man. Because we use dog for security, we also use dog to hunt other animals, to predict other animals. So we can't be eating an animal that goes out to fetch other food for us or fetch other animals for us to eat. Something like that. That's two. That was in the olden days when hunters used to manipulate dogs to help them get, or dogs used to get other smaller animals for hunters, right? Then the third one, I don't know how true this is for those of you who are Muslims. Wọ́n ní pé Ànábì ń kírun, pé Ànábì ló bá ajá, pé Ànábì ń kírun, pé ìjọ kan ajá wá tọ̀ síbi tí ó ti ń kírun. Pé kò wọ́n kọ́ tọ́ílẹ̀tì fún ajá àbí any animal for that matter. Even àwọn èèyàn gan ṣe ń tọ̀ sí gbòòrò, sí títì, sí gọ́tà, sẹ́ni ìwẹ̀ tó bá rí. Tí wọ́n lájá wá tọ̀ síbi tí Ànábì ti ń kírun, Ànábì wá bínú gégùn, wá sọ pé kán má ó di ẹran èèwọ̀ àbí nǹkan kan láti jọ́ yẹn lọ. I don't know how true that is, but ẹ jẹ́ Mùsùlùmí ẹ bá mi confirm ẹ àbí kẹ́ dispel ẹ as rumor. So, but these three reasons given so far, ẹ yẹ kí n mú ní kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àkọ́kọ́ pé ajá ń jẹ̀gbẹ́ àbó ń jẹ nǹkan ọ̀dọ̀tí àbájá ò mọ́. Let's start with that. So, kíní kan wà tó ń pè ní ratio decidendi, reason for the decision. Ṣé àpé ní generation tí wọ́n kọ Quran àti Bible, the reason for their decisions, we must look into it and draw logic out of it to determine whether it is still relevant in our own time till now. Àwọn kankan wà tó ṣe nígbà kan tó pé reason tó fi take our decisions yẹn gbà yẹn were to answer or address questions or demands of their time. So generations after, nǹkan kan ti change, àwọn kankan ti evolve, what ti change. So the reason for the decision are no longer relevant now. Okay, so tó bá jẹ́ torí pé ajá ń jẹ ìdọ̀tí àbí nǹkan kan, the question is kí wá ní ká máa jẹ? Nígbà tó yẹ pé for instance nísìn ẹranko wo lẹ ń jẹ tí ò kí ń jẹ̀gbẹ́ àbí tí ò kí ń jẹ dọ̀tí? Ẹ ṣáà ń jẹ adìyẹ máa lọ sórí àkìtàn, ajẹ ní ti kódà adìyẹ ń jẹ fún adìyẹ ń jẹ adìyẹ. Tó bá ṣe adìyẹ fádìyẹ, adìyẹ máa jẹ, kò ní mọ̀ pádìyẹ lòun. Ìfà kó mọ̀ pádìyẹ lòun ń jẹ, ajẹ náà tó bá ti dùn lẹ́nu ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ jẹ nígbà tó bá pa adìyẹ tí wọ́n ń sìn yẹn, adìyẹ ló ń jẹ, kò mí bóyá àgbẹ̀ ló ń jẹ àbí anything. So àwọn kan sọ pé torí pé ajá, second reason, torí pé ajá ti di ọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn. Yes. So some people feel any animal that you keep, in fact some believe that dog is man's best friend. Pé ajá ó jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ tí èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ keep because dogs don't betray. Tó bá ní èèyàn as ọ̀rẹ́ ó lè betray ẹ, but ajá, dogs, they hardly betray. Do you understand it? Dogs hardly betray. So some people feel yes, dogs have become man's friend and should not be eaten by man. Otherwise, the man becomes the betrayer. Morally speaking, that sounds logical. Okay? So, that said, ṣé mọ̀ pé ajá náà, èèyàn náà, tó bá jẹ ajá, tó bá jẹ adìyẹ, ṣé mọ̀ pé adìyẹ náà máa ń dọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn. Adìyẹ tó ń fún lọ́kà bàbà, tó ń fún lágbàdo, tó ń fún everything, ó ti dọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀. Tó yẹ pé tó bá rí ẹ bá wọn máa fò bọ̀ ni. Àfẹn tí ò bá san adìyẹ rí, tó bá sin adìyẹ tádìyẹ bá ti mojú ẹ, tó yẹ pé tó bá ti rí ẹ báyìí kò dé, wọ́n máa fò bọ̀ nínú ẹ̀ máa dùn. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn àṣepa adìyẹ nígbà tó bá gbò wá jẹ. So if that is the reason, àwọn tó ń ṣòfin náà máa ń pè ní normal language, àwọn ní ratio decidendi, that is the reason for the decision, reason tí wọ́n fi decide pé ajá ò ṣe é jẹ torí pé ó ti dọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn yẹn. Animal wo lẹ́yìn sìn rí tí ò dọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn? Kódà màálù tá ń jẹ, ẹran màálù, cow meat tẹ́ ń jẹ, cow máa obey ẹni tó ń dà, ẹni tó dà yẹn dẹ̀ tún ṣì máa padà ta, ẹ̀yìn náà dẹ̀ jẹ́, ó ti dọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn náà. So there's almost no animal, and only because dog is carnivorous, pé any dog tó bá ti ń jẹ, no, pé because dog eats other animals that are also of flesh, ó ti wà carnivorous, pé you should not eat any carnivorous animal. Are you not also carnivorous? No, in the animal hierarchy or kingdom, there are animals that are predators to prey. Àwọn animals kan wà predators ni wọ́n, àwọn animals kan wà prey ni wọ́n, àwọn tó jẹ́ prey náà tó jẹ́ predators to other smaller animals. It's normal. So I am not therefore saying what should be right or wrong. I'm only trying to steer or instigate or to provoke our thinking processes. So if that is your reason, then you should not eat anything. Má jẹ nǹkan kan, because whatever tó wù kó fẹ́ jẹ is also a prey on other animals too. I mean, it's also a predator on other animal prey. Kò sí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe sí yẹn. So that said, mo máa ń gbọ́ táwọn kan máa ń sọ pé àwọn ò jájá rí, àwọn ò dẹ̀ ní ever jájá. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ torí Ọlọ́run, ẹ jẹ́ ká correct ara wa. Màá fún yín ní reason tí mo fi believe bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ kí n sọ story Aunty Daya fún yín. I'm not saying you therefore have eaten dog before. Nígbà tá a wà ní kékeré, we were very small. Mo ṣe kéré o, but then we were very small. Temidire street ní Sango Ọ̀tà. Mọ́mí wa ń tajà ní street yẹn gbà yẹn. So wà opposite Sango garage. Ó náà ti kọ Aunty Daya tí yẹn máa ń ta ice water, a máa so sí nylon, ice water, ice block, coke, àwọn minerals bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n á kó sínú bath, àwọn black, àwọn bath tó máa ń tóbi black yẹn wọ́n á kó sí wá gbé lọ sí títì níwájú garage ní across. Tó bá ti tajà darí, tó bá di alẹ́ bí 10 PM or so wọ́n máa darí bọ̀. Aunty Daya ní kọ́ tradition kan, tó bá ti ń bọ̀ lálẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn, wọ́n yà lọ́dọ̀ mẹ̀súyà tó máa ń wà ní junction Temidire street. Wọ́n ra súyà dání, wọ́n máa rà bọ̀ nílé. Wọ́n bá ti rà wálé, wọ́n lè fi mu gàrí sùn, wọ́n lè fi jẹ búrẹ́dì sùn, ìyẹn súyà yẹn. So this particular day, ajá kan kú sí títì ní Temidire street ní Sango Ọ̀tà yẹn. Ajá yẹn bóyá ọ̀kadà ló pa, bóyá mọ́tò, àkànṣá àjíá rí pé nǹkan kan ti ìfun ẹ̀ ti jáde, wọ́n tẹ̀ pa ni, bóyá mọ́tò ni, bóyá àmọ́ àṣà àpájà yẹn ti kú. So àwa mọ̀ pé ẹ̀ńdá tó lajá wá gbé àbí wọ́n tó clear kúrò, ààrẹ yàn wá gbé, ààrẹ ní bóyá environmentalist ni o àbí ẹni tó lajá ní ààrẹ ní bọ̀dẹ̀ kó gbé. Ó wá ti ń lọ bí 3 days, ó wá ti fẹ́ máa rùn. So ó ní ọ̀rẹ́ wa kan gbà yẹn, Muse dínkù, Muse ti is late now, Muse is late now, Wasiu is still alive, Muse, Wasiu àtèmi, àwa gbé ajá yẹn, òkú ajá yẹn a fẹ́ lọ sọ́nù. Ibi tá ti ń gbé lọ, àbókí tó ń ta súyà, mẹ̀súyà tó wà ní junction, Aunty Daya máa ra súyà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, táwa náà dẹ̀ máa ra súyà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ dáadáa. Ó wá ní pé ibo là ń gbé lọ, àwa fẹ́ lọ sọ́nù. Ó wá ní ká gbé wá ká má wọrí ká máa lọ ti wa. A ṣáà gbé fún pé ó tiẹ̀ ti relieve stress wa. Àwọn kan ṣáà fẹ́ òun yẹn mọ́ ní àdúgbò tiwa ní bá ṣe gbé fún àdẹ̀ turn back. Muse nìkan ló turn back, ló bá sọ̀rọ̀. Èmi ò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ understand di nígbà yẹn accent Hausa àti Yorùbá tó máa ń mix mọ́ra wọn. Tí Hausa kan ẹ̀yìn ìwọ náà kẹ́yìn kò yé mi. But Muse já ń tiẹ̀. Àwa tí mọ́mí bá ti close shop à ń lọ sùn ni. But Muse ṣì máa wà ń gbòòrò di alẹ́ di òru di anytime. So Muse já ó mọ, ó tètè mọ nǹkan. Kódà Muse yẹn gan ló kọ́ mi bó ṣe ń kan kéjà jẹun, ló kọ́ mi ní paka. He was very skilled when it comes to carpentry works. So Muse àti àbókí yẹn ṣá sọ̀rọ̀, àwò tí ẹ̀ listen sí. Ìgbà tó máa di ìrọ̀lẹ́, ẹ mọ̀ pé àárọ̀ ní ọjọ́ ni agbé ajá yẹn ta fẹ́ lọ sọ́nù tó gbà lọ́wọ́. Àgbà tó di ìrọ̀lẹ́, akọ̀rin Muse tó yọdé pẹ̀lú súyà púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́, oúnjẹ súyà yẹn. Ó tún wá kọ́ bá pò tó fowó hàn wá pé ó fóun lówó. Ta ló fún ẹ lówó tó fún ẹ súyà? Fún wa jẹ, olóhùn ní fún wa jẹ, ká lọ gbà tọ̀dọ̀ wa. Ó sound like pé àwa entitled sí súyà, ká lọ gbà tọ̀dọ̀ wa kẹ̀. Okay, fine. Aṣá lọ síbi àwọn náà ọmọdé náà, àfùdé bẹ́ẹ̀, I'm like, where my own? Oh, recognize that part of Baja one. Oh, for one suya. Our no, the other for one ni 5 naira. 5 naira yẹn wà equivalent of 500 or 5,000. I don't know the value now because naira fluctuate. You can't really tell. So, ó ṣà fún wa suya. Àjẹ suya inú wa dùn. Mo á sọ pé tó bá tún dọ̀la màá tún lọ gba suya lọ́wọ́ àbókí. Mo ṣe wá ní o. Kò sí lọ́la o. Èní nìkan ni pé because ajá ta fún láàárọ̀ ló fi ṣe suya léni. Mo ní mo ní yẹn náà pé ṣé wo mọ̀ ní ṣé owó kan ní máa dédé fún wa suya. Ọmọdé tí mo jẹ́ mo dákẹ́ àti jẹ́ ó ti lọ ó ti digest mo ti gbà ká mú. Gbà kó wá dalẹ̀ àǹtí ìdáyà wa close as usual. Ó wá tún yá mi tó ti ń ra suya ó wá ń bọ̀. Bí táǹtì ìdáyà ti wá ń bọ̀ ó wá ń jẹ suya yẹn bọ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ kò fẹ́ jẹ́ tán fẹ́ lọ fìyókù jẹ bó dùn lẹ́nu ẹ̀ yàtọ̀. So bọ̀dá Kọ́lé wá rí àǹtí ìdáyà bọ̀dá Kọ́lé wá ní ìdáyà ó dẹ̀ jọ sórí bí ọ̀rá tó dàbí ọ̀rá ajá nínú suya yẹn ó dẹ̀ jọ fún mi ibẹ̀ yẹn wù mí jẹ fún mi. Àǹtí ìdáyà was like láíláíláyé ẹ má máa pe ajá sínú nǹkan tí n bá ń jẹ mọ́ má máa pa ajá sínú nǹkan tí n bá ń jẹ mọ́ kí má máa pa ajá kẹ̀ ọ̀rá yẹn dàbí ọ̀rá ajá ó dẹ̀ fún mi. Àǹtí ìdáyà ní mi fún ẹ n kò fún ẹ kódà ntọ́jú ẹ̀ ń fẹ́ la fi jẹ búrẹ́dì sùn nílé ni fẹ́ lọ fi jẹ búrẹ́dì sùn ní wọ́n á ní ṣùgbọ́n láíláyé ẹ má máa pe ajá sínú nǹkan tí n bá jẹ mọ́ ìyẹn ló wà attract mi wá ní àǹtí ìdáyà ṣé rántí ajá tó kú sí títì ní àti bí ìjẹta. Àǹtí ìdáyà ní kí ló kàn mí pẹ̀lú yẹn. Mo ní ajá yẹn gbà tá a fẹ́ lọ sọ́nù pé òun ni mẹ̀súyà òun ló gbà lọ́wọ́ wa ó ti fáwa náà súyà ó dẹ̀ dùn pé àìpọ̀ òun náà ni ó ń tà. Àǹtí ìdáyà ó ti late ẹ ti jajá. So when I see people saying mi jajari mi jejori mi jekuri mi jẹ nǹkan kan I just akọ̀wé pé wẹ́ nǹkan tó bá mọ̀ ló mọ̀ wà kàn jẹran mi wà rí pé tèsẹ̀ èèyàn kan ti tẹ̀lé wa lọ sí ẹsẹ̀ odò rí nílàjẹ l'Ondo State. Àmú ògùrọ̀ ó bá wa mú inú ẹ̀ dùn à ń jẹ ẹran ìgbẹ́ ó bá wa jẹ́ èmi ò kún ń béèrè tó bá ti dùn máa jẹ́ ń tèmi tí ò bá ti ṣẹran èèyàn. So a ti jẹran tán wọ́n rí pé ẹran yìí dùn pé èwo lélẹ̀ iṣẹ́ ẹ̀tù ni òun máa ń gbóríṣiríṣi pé ṣẹ́tù ni àbókété àbí kinní kan wọ́n sọ pé pé wọ́n mix ẹ̀ ní pé ejò wà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ kinní kan wà ló bá ẹ̀tù ó ti léètì. So ìwọ tó bá ti ń jẹ anything tí kò ń ṣèwọ ló ṣe fúnra rẹ̀ especially àwọn tó máa ń jẹun canteen ó lè ti jẹ koríko má mọ̀. Nothing is impossible. But the thing is, if you eat it without knowing, ó yàtọ̀ sí ó mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ jẹ́ gan. If the reason for not eating dog is because it is clean, not clean, pé wà unclean, pé kò clean. Kí ló wá ń jẹ tó clean rí? Most of the things we eat, their raw processing are from either earth, inú yẹ̀pẹ̀, irú plant stand jẹ. Àgbàrá máa gbé dọ̀tí oríṣiríṣi wá sábẹ́ igi á tún jẹ́ kí igi yẹn fi germinate sí all sort of things wà á dẹ̀ jẹ mango ẹ̀ wà á jẹ ọsàn ẹ̀ wà á jẹ ìdọ̀tí yẹn kọ́ ni ìwọ̀n ń jẹ ìdọ̀tí yẹn ni plant àbí animal yẹn ń jẹ ṣùgbọ́n tó bá ti dénú ẹ̀ it is nutrition for them. Ẹran ni ìwọ fẹ́ jẹ ń tiẹ̀ o ṣáà kó dọ̀tí yẹn lẹ́lẹ̀ fúnra rẹ̀ kò jẹ àbí gbẹ́ yẹn kò jẹ no tó bá ti dénú ẹ̀ it gives them nutrition. It makes them develop. Ìwà jẹ ẹran ní ìwọ fẹ́ jẹ ń tiẹ̀. Most of these things they are recycled. Okay, now fine. Between kí wọ́n fi ìgbẹ́ ẹran fertilize plants àti kó fi carbide ripen it because what we are eating these days is GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Wọ́n fi carbide is chemical, very dangerous to health. Nínú kó fi ìgbẹ́ ẹran tó wà natural kó fi ripen oúnjẹ àti kó fi carbide ripen ẹ̀ ló better. So what I'm simply trying to say is this. Ẹ jẹ́ ká máa béèrè kí ni reason for this decision nígbà tí wọ́n take decision yẹn. And is it still relevant till now? If it is no longer relevant, what is relevant now, because challenges táwọn face in generation wọn tó fi ṣe àwọn òfin tó ṣe ń gbà yẹn, they are no longer the same challenges we are facing several generations after. Ìgbà míì gan-an bá fẹ́ padì ẹ̀ wọ́n sọ pé rọra careful because of the ẹlòmíì lè padì ẹ̀ torí ẹ̀rù ń bà pé òróòró. Ṣùgbọ́n nísìnyí there are even machines that separate the intestine from the body and all that thing. Wọ́n ṣe process adìyẹ fúnra rẹ̀. Do you understand it? So òfin tó ṣe ń gbà yẹn ló má jẹlé ó ti yà ó dàbí ìgbà tó ṣe òfin pé alcohol pé mùsùlùmí kó má mu ọtí. What was the reason for the decision? It's because they know alcohol is addictive. Addiction wà fún alcohol. O lè mu alcohol a máa wù ẹ́ mu sí pé jẹ́ kí n tún rí sí jẹ́ kí n. And they know some people who don't have gauge. Ẹlòmíì ò mọ gauge yẹ. They don't know their gauge. A máa mú lọ tó fi máa yó tó fi máa sùn lọ tó fi máa da gbogbo tọwọ́ ẹ̀ lẹ̀. And that is not human enough. It's not reasonable enough. So ìdí nìyẹn tó fi jẹ́ pé different doctrines wà. Àwọn Christian máa sọ fún ẹ pé ìmutípara ni ò dáa, because they also know that ọtí ní ìwúlò ẹ̀ rárá occasionally. For instance, nísìnyí tó bá rí iná fi hot fi boil omi láti fi form chemical reaction fún àgbo tó fẹ́ mu, o lè lo hot because it will perform nearly the same function. Hot ó máa extract àwọn nǹkan tó ní lára egbògi àbí ewé tó kó sínú ike. Tó bá da hot mọ́ á bẹ extract ẹ̀, tó bá mu hot yẹn wá ó máa extract nǹkan tó ní nínú ẹ̀ fún ẹ láti wà okay. The same thing tí hot degree temperature of water would do, hot máa ṣe fún ẹ at instance tó bá rí iná dà. So Christians therefore decided, no, let's not stop it. Let's only say don't drink in excess because le máa lè control ara ẹ̀. But Muslims prefer pé kàkà kí o kúkú mú yẹn kúkú má mú rárá, because some of ẹlòmíì máa hide under pé excess ni ò dá àwọn sì lè mú, ẹlòmíì hide under it a máa mú lọ. So they then decided kúkú má mú rárá. The same thing applies to views on adultery. Kí ni position of Christianity on adultery? Christians believe one man, one woman. Now, we have to also differentiate between what is God's instruction and addict. Ọlọ́run kọ́ ló sọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn wà tó yẹ pé doctrines ni wọ́n àbí ẹ̀ ń pè ní addict àbí. Tó yẹ pé àwọn frontliners, àwọn proteges, àwọn tó form religion yẹn, lọ́kàn pé àṣẹ kó pè báyìí. But because we venerate them, our adopt it as a rule. It doesn't mean God said it. Ọlọ́run kọ́ ló sọ. It is for health reasons, pé hygiene reasons, pé kí nǹkan lè wà hygienic for one of you sọ pé some things just avoid them because of their impurities. But if you know how to separate the impurities and get the real meat out, you're fine. So there were no ways to separate some impurities then or to moderate things then. Now, what is the view on adultery? Christians will say one man, one woman, not God, because most of the great men in the Bible did not have one wife. Yeah, check it. Nobody became great with one wife in the Bible. Check it now. But that is not our headache now. Our headache is beyond marrying several wives. But what is the view of Islam? Islam believes rather than going out to commit adultery. So some Christians will marry one wife. One keep one wife. As far as our religion says so, they keep one wife. Codedly, or even openly. But Muslims believe instead of doing the adultery, bring the woman home. Because biologically speaking, generally speaking, one woman can never satisfy a man. Yeah. No, talk true. Obìnrin, ó máa ṣe period every month, whether 3 days or 5 days, depending on their own period, your own woman's period. I ṣe period every month. Tó bá lóyún, and the symptoms of weaknesses are weak. Tó bá tún lọ ṣiṣẹ́ ńkọ́, I'm a weak severally. Tó bá tún bímọ, tó bá ṣe exclusive breastfeeding. Pé kò easy. Breastfeeding máa ń weaken obìnrin. So, ìwọ dẹ̀kẹ̀rí, gbogbo èròjà ara ẹ̀ ó fẹ́ máa bank 4 rounds, 5 rounds, 3 rounds. Ò lè ṣe pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ mọ́. So that is why ó yẹ pé àwọn obìnrin ìgbà yẹn, they will even advise you pé baálé mi ẹ̀ ṣe fẹ́ yà ọ́ lé mi. They will be the ones who advise you. knowing that your body needs it, because your body generates all those hormones, and if you don't discharge them, only results in prostate enlargement. So you must marry more or sheshinonta, whichever way to take care of yourself. That said, Muslims therefore decided má kúkú sheshina, kúkú fẹ́ mọ̀, ó better fẹ́ wọn kó wà nílé. Christians will say one man, one woman, one man turn around, one lọ sheshinonta, one keep your concile. You see, views. So if you say, má jẹ ajá torí oúnjẹ ìgbẹ́, adìẹ ń jẹ aáyán náà, adìẹ ń jẹ kòló, but you eat fowl. The impurity you are avoiding from dog, or the friendliness that dog has shared with you, and you feel you can't eat it. Fowls have it too. Why did jẹ? Jẹ́ kí kúkú má sìn, jẹ́ kí n lọ rà lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó sìn. Àwọn tó sìn náà ti da ọ̀rẹ́ pẹ̀lú wọn náà. O mọ̀, o jẹ́, but o ti dọ̀rẹ́ èèyàn already now. So what are we now saying? Let's kúkú not eat anything. Let's stop eating. So if you look at the reason for the decisions, you'll be able to determine, okay, alcohol, for instance, àwọn Mùsùlùmí ní ká má mu alcohol. The reason for that decision was because ó wà addictive. After my wẹ̀ sí, ó dẹ̀ lè jẹ́ kó lose control, kó má mọ̀ tó ń ṣe. But do you know many abokis, tẹ́ bá rí wọn àwọn aboki tí wọ́n bá ń ṣiṣẹ́, wọ́n máa mu tramol, wọ́n máa mu refnol, wọ́n máa lá gbogbo ẹ̀, wọ́n máa ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. Kolos, àwọn boys mu kolos. They pray 5 times a day because it is said by you, Islam. They observe Ramadan, wọ́n fi ṣeré. Yes, but because what Quran captured them as Ramadan, as of the time Quran, or as of the time you said they should not take alcohol, there were no refnols, there were no tramol, there were no other inventions that would give them similar, even worse feelings than that. So they will now avoid alcohol because that is what you mentioned in the book, in the holy book. Quran did not foresee that there will be refnol now. Quran did not foresee that generations to come there will be kolos. So there's no kolos in Quran. So they will not say, na alcohol, should be na alcohol, the same one no drink. You avoid that one. You can't go carry alternative. We even dig worse or greater. That alcohol ni addict ni amamu, or alcohol ni one ni amamu. They will not go and carry other. So the Quran and Bibles addressed the situation of their time, and since you are not able to update Quran or update the Bible, problem is what? Do you understand what I'm saying? So for me, you have to think about what is the reason for the decision, and is it still logical to follow it now? So that said, I've not said eat dog or drink alcohol or anything. You will not be the lower reason tí wọ́n fi sọ nígbà yẹn. Is that reason still relevant? If it is still relevant, follow it. If it's no longer relevant, forget it. Ó ti lọ. But don't deprive yourself. There was a time back when she masters in University of Lagos. Dr. Oyefara, I should be a professor by now if I check. I got it the professor. Because as of then it was Dr. Oyefara. Maybe an associate professor there. Or assistant professor, I don't know. So Dr. Oyefara came into time yẹn ni àwọn èèyàn máa ń pokùnso gan. Àbí àwọn èèyàn máa ń lọ wọ́n kàn lọ fò sínú. In fact, the case statistic of people jumping into lagoon on the 3rd mainland bridge was so high. So one day the man just came into the classroom, ó kàn stamp left hand, ó gbá table, psychologists, you have work to do. Why should human beings with splendor, avalanche, abundance of things to feel cool with will now be contemplating suicide? Why? In the class enjoying drama. Because the previous day there was report of a banker. Was he a banker or an accountant jumping into lagoon? Leads in the class in the following morning. Hey, psychologists have work to do. Later, you might jump into lagoon. He now took his class from there. Explain it is extreme depression that leads to suicide contemplation. I'll take it again. Extreme depression leads to suicide contemplation. Otherwise, if you are aware that when your mood is down, your mood is down, you are bored. Alcohol is one of the things created by the universe to help you that moment. It's just like when you are sick, you take drug now. You are down in spirit. Take something that can help you live up for that moment, and you get your peak again, and you solve the problem going forward. But because any problem, you are now depressed. Or allow depression to overwhelm you. Extreme depression will now cause you to contemplate suicide. There's alcohol. There's nyash. That's Dr. Oyefara's word. When nyash wa wari fún ọ wá kọ pé whoa orí àṣẹ wúlàlà. Wà á kọ́kọ́ gbé problem yẹn sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ kan náà pé let me first take care of myself. Go and discharge, detoxify, feel good first. Tó bá ti wà okay tó then come back. Come back. Problem yẹn kí lẹ sọ pé ó ṣẹlẹ̀ ó yá now. How about we do this? Because your body is now relieved. Kò sí tension more. Body, even without doing any hard work or stress, body alone as nature, man generates toxins. Only fún ẹni nǹkan tó máa jẹ́ kí body wá kàn máa feel bored, wá kàn máa feel weak. Body á kàn heavy for no reason. But there are things that can help you discharge and keep going. Exercise one day, exercise yourself. Listen to music. Don't ever tell me you are depressed though. Music can improve your mood. Listening to good music can improve your mood. Momentarily to barely taste alcohol, it can improve your mood. Wade sunwaji, body had discharge. And when most had discharge epinephrine. Ni sex soon. Epinephrine, oxytocin. Combination of those two, by the time you wake up, you are refreshed. Listen to music, sleep, exercise, have sex, eat good food. So many things. For what? Are there no options around you to improve mood there? Boost there. So that was what Dr. Oyefara told us there. So that said, if you are now a fanatic religionist, religion ti wá sọ fún ẹ pé ọtí kò dáa, orin tó lè improve mood ẹ pé orin ayé ni má gbọ́. I'm not talking about Islam alone, including those of you who are into some church denominations. Denominations extreme religion on preach, but pastor take care ara tiẹ̀ lẹ́yìn wàhálà tí yín nìyẹn. But I'm telling you now, gbọ́n jára ẹ̀. Now Ọlọ́run ló dá alcohol, Ọlọ́run ló dá oúnjẹ, Ọlọ́run ló dá music, Ọlọ́run ló dá Sátánì. Now only Sátánì was the first person tó mọ̀ nípa jù tó Ọlọ́run dá, meaning that God loves music too. Ọlọ́run ló dá. Created plants, created weed. If you sabi smoke. Me, I no sabi. So it's late for me to learn it. I don't want it. But those of you who know how to do it, anything that can make you feel good, don't just do it in excess. That's all. So jẹlẹdẹ, jaja, ẹlẹ́dẹ̀ ń jẹ dọ̀tí, ẹlẹ́dẹ̀ ń jẹ kíni animal wo ló ń jẹ tí ò kì í jẹ dọ̀tí. Ajẹ máa lọ ṣàlẹ̀ jẹ lórí lele. Ajẹ ayan ajẹ kolo. Ṣé wọ́n lè jìkòló lè jà but tó bá ti wọ́n ní wọ́n á recycle wá di nǹkan mi á fún wọn ní nutrition á jẹ́ ni wọ́n fẹ́ jẹ now. Do you understand it? So that said, you have to just ask yourself, I can't be inheriting. Okay, but I want for those who said ajá tọ̀ síbi táwọn bí ti ń kírun lànà bí ṣe gégùn ó sọ pé kọ́ máa jàjà mọ́. I don't know how true, but if that is the case, for those who believe in that, let me ask you, ṣé ajá Saudi ni ajá ibi báyìí ni? There are different types of dogs na. O tẹ kọ́kọ́ béèrè pé irú ajá wo ló lọ tọ̀ síbi ẹni tí Ànábì fi ń kírun. O kọ́kọ́ béèrè irú ajá wo, ṣé station dog ni, ṣé boaba ni, ṣé Eskimo ni? O béèrè. Àbí local dog irú tiwa ń bí? O béèrè. Ajá tẹ̀ kọ́ toilet fún. Do you know that if that was the reason, do you know there are some dogs now that will never urinate or shit until they enter toilet? Depending on the training you give them. They will never. O lè rí àwọn ajá kan wà, o lè rí imi wọn tà láyé. O ní rí. Because they will never hold there until they get to safe toilet or close place before they secrete. They will never in the open. Do you understand it? That said, ask yourself, if Ànábì Muhammad or Jesus Christ or Paul, because most of the things in the Bible were not even said by Jesus. Even Jesus is not a Christian. They were not said by Jesus. Some of them were just letters written to the Colossians, the Galatians, the Ephesians by Paul. Àwọn apostles náà kọ lẹ́tà sáwọn ará Galatia tẹ́yìn wá ń sọ di òfin sìn. Wọ́n kọ sí ẹ̀yin ará Nàìjíríà, àwọn ará Galatia náà kọ sí. Àwọn ará Kólósè náà kọ lọ sí. Àwọn ará Akin náà kọ sí. And nobody can be entirely a Christian. I told you, you can't be, because the meaning of Christianity is people who live like Christ. You can never be like Christ. Go possible. Because if you want to be like Christ, you will not marry. Jesus never married. If you want to be like him, don't marry too now. Sorry. Don't marry. Don't engage. Don't do anything with woman. But it's not possible because you are a woman. You should be Christian. Jesus died at 30-something years old. How old are you? You are not a Christian. Stop deceiving. Even Jesus was not a Christian. Christianity is theory. In theology, Christianity is a theory. It's just an idealism. You can never be like Christ as told. I wasn't there. I don't know if Christ did all the things they claim he did. But if he did all of those things, nobody can be like him. So you can't back we are only trying to attain a level of morality where there can be peace, equity, and justice. So let's make laws to that effect. Because you can't feel religious rules, my stifle away. Don't do this. Because if the reason for not eating dog is because it eats impurity, kí ni animal tẹ́ fẹ́ jẹ tí ò jẹ impurity? Ẹ dá mi lóhùn. So cow, màálù tẹ́ ń jẹ, if you say it's only cow you want to eat because its milk is pure, this is pure, blah 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 blah, it has so many values. Oh yeah, okay, fẹ́ jẹ cow. Oh yeah, mò ń bọ̀. Cow yẹn máa lọ jẹ plant oní plant. Wọ́n já, wọ́n lura, wọ́n ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. Plant animal tó commit illegality pé lọ jẹ oko olóko yẹn, tán kó lọ jẹ oko olóko yẹn, yín máa rẹ̀ máa jẹ náà. But animal yẹn ti dẹ́ṣẹ̀. Why not say because animal committed the sin? Kẹ́ má jẹ kankan. So we are just trying to moderate as much as possible. It doesn't therefore mean we should stifle ourselves. Use your logic. What was the reason? Do I want to inherit the problem of a person who said he was not going to eat something for personal reason? Then personal reason tiẹ̀ ló fi sọ ń gbà yẹn pé kán má òun ò ní jẹ nǹkan kan mọ́. Àwọn adherents ẹ̀ náà dẹ̀ tẹ̀lé. Must I now inherit his reason? Ṣé mo wà ń bẹ̀ ń gbà yẹn ni? Wasn't there now. I mustn't therefore inherit that person's reason for not doing that thing. Mi lè inherit ọ̀tá ẹ̀ ni. Mi mọ reason tẹ́ fi dọ̀tá. I can't inherit your enemy just because they are enemies with you. No, it's not logical. Tó bá ṣe nǹkan tó ṣe yẹn sí mi, tèmi ò dẹ̀ like nǹkan tó ṣe sí ẹ, tó dẹ̀ ṣe sí mi náà, that is a reason. substantive reason, reasonable reason to say okay lóòótọ́ ẹ̀mí náà mi lè ṣọ̀rẹ́ pẹ̀lú nǹkan báyìí. Mọ nǹkan tó ṣe sí ẹ yẹn kò ṣe sí mi, ìwọ mo kàn gbọ́ lẹ́nu ẹ ni. Nǹkan tó dẹ̀ ṣe sí ẹ yẹn is because you didn't make provision for some things ló ṣe ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ìgbà tí ò ní ibi tó máa tọ̀ sí. Wọ́n á sọ pé torí pé ó tọ̀ sí ibi ẹni èèyàn kan ní Saudi. Ṣé mo bóyá Eskimo ni àbí Baobab àbí kí ló porúkọ other types of Austrasian dog mi mọ̀ kí máa fi yẹn victimize local dog ládùúgbò mi náà nà. Do you know that àwọn alájì kan wà tó yẹ pé wọ́n láìkí cat ológbò? Àwọn kan náà wà wọ́n láìkí ológbò. Àwọn kan láìkí ológbò not because they naturally like the ológbò. They like it because wọ́n rí pé lómi like ẹ̀, àwọn náà wá inherit likeness yẹn. Must I inherit your own philosophy without first testing whether it works for me? Those are the issues. Mo rí pé kinní kan ṣe kinní kan, èmi náà kàn dé copy ẹ̀. Okay, for instance, àwọn kan inherit fear of snake. Mo rí èèyàn kan níjọ́ kan, ó ń sá fẹ́jò. Mo á bi mo ní ṣètò ti bọ̀ ẹ̀jẹ̀ ló nínú. But kí ló inform fear for snake? Wọ́n sọ pé ejò burú. Mọ́jọ́ tí wọ́n ti ń réjò, ejò máa ń sá fún ẹyin náà. Ejò lè rí ẹ, téjò bá rí ẹ tó bá dúró, then something is wrong. Kó tó rí ejò máa kọ́ rí ẹ, ó dẹ̀ ti máa kọ́ sá. Ejò ń sá, ìwọ náà ń sá. He's afraid of you also. You inherited the fear. Why must I inherit fear? Okay, mo rí ejò ń sìn, ejò yẹn sá lọ. Mo wá dúró máa ní, ejò yìí dẹ̀ sá ṣá. They made me learn how to fear snakes from childhood. Kò bù mí jẹ rí o, mo ti tejò mọ́lẹ̀ more than 2 times rí. Màá tẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ adẹ̀ tó sá lọ. Mo ti fọwọ́ gbé ejò rí láìmọ̀, mo ń ṣe koríko, mo ti gé koríko yẹn, àti gé, àti filẹ̀, àkójọ. Gbà tó mo fẹ́ kó rùn pa kí n lè sùn, gbà tó ó wá di ìrọ̀lẹ́, mo wá fẹ́ fi ọwọ́ gbá papọ̀ dáadáa kí n lè fi iná sí. Àṣé mi mọ̀ pé jù wá bẹ̀, ibi tí mo ti ń kó koríko yẹn mo dẹ̀ gbé, ó dẹ̀ rìn kúrò lọ́wọ́ mi, ó dẹ̀ sá lọ. Mo wá ń bira mi pé mo ń bẹ̀rù ejò ń sá fún mi, èmi dẹ̀ ń bẹ̀rù ẹ̀. Mo wá dúró pé mi ní sá, ó ti sá fún mi already. Kí mo tún fẹ́ máa sá, kí èmi náà wá fẹ́ máa sá lọ fún? Ṣé mi wá ní ṣe nǹkan tí mo ṣe lọ? Ó ti sá already ó ti sá, kí lè mo wá fẹ́ máa sá fún again? Ibẹ̀ mo tún wá rò pé okay, this is psychologist. It's the mind. It's the mind at work. So mo inherit fear yẹn ni. Kò ṣe pé bóyá ejò ṣe nǹkan fún mi rí tó fi di pé n fẹ́ máa sá fún. We only inherited the fear. So must we inherit everything? Why can't you decide for yourself? Okay, kí ni yóò kò ṣe mí, so leave it like that. Kálukú máa ṣe tiẹ̀, kálukú máa ṣe tiẹ̀. Mo léyàn tó ń bẹ̀rù adìẹ dì ní. Adìẹ tí màá mú báyìí, màá ní ṣe bóun rè kò gé ẹjẹ náà, ṣe bóun rè adìẹ rè náà. Á ní ẹ̀yin lè mú, ẹ má yẹ kó súnmọ́ mi o, ẹ má gbé súnmọ́ mi o, ẹ má gbé súnmọ́. Ó ń bẹ̀rù adìẹ dì ní. Mo ṣe ń try láti kí láyà ni pé ṣé bóun mo dì mú yìí. Ọlọ́ máa ń fún mọ́yàn, ọlọ́ máa ń ṣáyàn lójú. Ṣó ti ṣáwọ̀ lójú, ṣe bóun ló ń sá fún ẹ yìí. So people inherit fears unnecessarily. We inherit doctrines. We inherit things we were told without us checking by ourselves whether those things are necessarily true or not. Can you check? We just inherit the problem. Check it before you abide by it. Thank you very much.